Deep in the heart of Java, Indonesia, hidden beneath centuries of volcanic ash and jungle overgrowth, lies a structure so enormous, so precisely engineered, and so philosophically advanced that experts still cannot agree on how it was built. I've stood at the top of this structure with my own feet. I've touched these stones, and I can tell you, nothing prepares you for the moment you realize just how impossible this place really is. This is Borobudur, and the mysteries surrounding it have barely even begun to be answered. Built somewhere around the 8th or 9th century AD, Borobudur is the largest Buddhist temple on Earth. It sits on the island of Java in what is now Indonesia, and it is absolutely staggering in scale. We're talking about a structure that covers nearly 2,500 square meters at its base. It contains over 2 million stone blocks. It is decorated with 2,672 individual relief panels. If you laid them end to end, they would stretch for nearly 5 kilometers. And crowning the entire structure are 72 stone stupas, each containing a seated Buddha statue. Now, Borobudur is no great pyramid in terms of sheer size, but what it lacks in height, it more than makes up for in complexity. 2,672 individually carved relief panels, 504 Buddha statues, and not a single drop of mortar holding any of it together. And it was built in the middle of a jungle, on a hill, by a civilization that, according to mainstream history, had no written records of its construction, no engineering blueprints, and no clear chain of command that could explain how hundreds of thousands of workers were organized, fed, and coordinated across what must have been decades of work. When I visited, what struck me first wasn't even the size, it was the detail. Every single surface is carved. Not rough, not approximate, precisely, beautifully, intricately carved. Scenes from the life of Buddha, cosmic diagrams, symbolic imagery that encodes entire philosophical systems in stone. This was not built by people who didn't know what they were doing. So who were they, and how did they do it? Here's where things get uncomfortable for conventional archaeology. The Sailendra dynasty, the rulers credited with building Borobudur, appeared in historical records quite suddenly around the 7th century AD. Before them? Very little. They left no clear origin story. They left no surviving written records of the construction itself. And within a few centuries of completing Borobudur, the entire civilization essentially vanished. When the Javanese capital shifted eastward around the 10th century, Borobudur was abandoned. The jungle consumed it. Volcanic eruptions buried it under layers of ash. And for nearly 1,000 years, one of the greatest architectural achievements in human history was simply forgotten. It was a British colonial officer named Thomas Stamford Raffles, yes, the same man Singapore was named after, who rediscovered it in 1814. Local villagers knew there was something in the jungle, but nobody truly understood the scale of what lay beneath the vines. What Raffles found when the jungle was cleared was both awe-inspiring and deeply puzzling. The structure had been deliberately built on top of a natural hill. The hill was essentially reshaped and used as the core of the monument. The builders filled in enormous sections with rubite and soil to create the tiered platform structure we see today. This required not just architectural skill, but a mastery of drainage, weight distribution, and long-term structural planning that we would struggle to replicate even now without modern machinery. And yet, no written record of how it was done. Now here's the detail that most tourists completely miss. And honestly, most documentaries don't cover it properly either. Borobudur is not just a temple. It is a three-dimensional map of the Buddhist cosmos. The structure has three distinct sections, each representing a different realm of existence according to Buddhist cosmology. The lowest level, Kamadhatu, represents the world of desire, where human beings live enslaved to their senses. The middle levels, Rupadhatu, represent the world of form, where beings have transcended physical desire but still exist in structured reality. And the highest level, Arupadhatu, represents the formless realm, pure consciousness, beyond shape, beyond definition. As you physically climb Borobudur, you are meant to be ascending through these realms. Each level strips away more complexity, more ornamentation, more worldly detail, until you reach the very top, where there is almost nothing. Just open sky, a single large central stupa, and a circle of smaller stupas, each containing a Buddha in a different hand position. The builders encoded an entire philosophical journey into the act of walking through the structure. But here's what makes this even stranger. The lowest tier, Kamadhatu, is almost entirely hidden. It was buried under a wide stone terrace that was added to the base of the structure at some point, possibly to stabilize it against collapse, possibly for other reasons that aren't fully understood. Underneath that added terrace, 160 hidden relief panels depicting scenes of earthly desire and consequence, deliberately concealed. Almost like the builders wanted to bury the foundation of human experience and only reveal it to those who looked beneath the surface. No serious mystery documentary about Borobudur would be complete without discussing the astronomical dimension. The temple is oriented along a precise north-south axis. Researchers studying the alignment have noted that the structure appears positioned to maximize its relationship with the surrounding volcanic peaks, particularly the sacred Mount Merapi to the north. But there's more. Some researchers have proposed that specific features of the monument align with astronomical events, solstices, equinoxes, and the movement of key stars. The precise dating of these alignments is still debated. But consider this: the builders were clearly sophisticated observers of the natural world. Their relief carvings include astronomical imagery. The layered structure mirrors cosmological diagrams found in Buddhist and Hindu sacred texts. Borobudur sits in a very particular geographical position. If you look at a map of Java, the temple sits almost exactly equidistant between two major volcanoes, Merapi to the north and Merbabu nearby. This is not a location chosen for convenience or access to resources. The surrounding plains as Kedu were agricultural and fertile, yes, but the specific positioning on that specific hill, raised, isolated, oriented, suggests deliberate cosmic placement. Was this a coincidence? Maybe. But when you combine the astronomical orientation, the cosmological architecture, the hidden levels, and the sheer technical achievement, coincidence becomes a harder argument to make. Here is one of the most surprising and recent discoveries about Borobudur that almost nobody is talking about. For years, historians assumed the temple was simply built on that hill and used as a pilgrimage site from dry land. But a team of researchers, working from historical water level data, geographical surveys, and ancient texts, put forward a startling proposal. They believed that when Borobudur was originally constructed and used, the surrounding plain was flooded. Not just wet, flooded. A vast shallow lake may have surrounded the entire structure, making it appear to rise out of the water like a cosmic island. Like the mythological Mount Meru, the axis of the universe in Buddhist and Hindu cosmology, rising from the primordial ocean. If this theory is correct, it completely changes how we understand the intended visual and spiritual experience of the monument. You wouldn't have approached it across fields. You would have approached it by boat. The entire lower section, those hidden Kamadhatu reliefs, may have literally been underwater. The monument wasn't just representing the cosmos, it was sitting inside a recreation of it. This theory remains debated. Not everyone accepts it, but the geological and historical evidence that the Kedu Plain was significantly more water-covered in ancient times is actually quite strong. Borobudur has survived. That much is undeniable. It survived the eruptions of Mount Merapi. It survived 1,000 years of abandonment. It survived the 2006 earthquake that devastated the surrounding region. It even survived a terrorist bombing in 1985 that damaged 9 stupas. It is still there, still standing, still waiting to be fully understood. The Indonesian government and UNESCO have worked for decades to preserve and restore it. Millions of visitors have walked its levels. Scholars have devoted lifetimes to its study, and still the core mysteries remain. Who were the Sailendra? Where did their engineering knowledge come from? What was the true intended experience of this monument? Why was it abandoned? What might still be hidden beneath it? These are not fringe questions. These are questions that serious archaeologists, geologists, and historians are actively working on. And every year, new research adds new layers of complexity to a story that is already extraordinary. If you ever have the chance to go there, go. Don't just take the photos, sit with it, walk slowly, look at the detail in the carvings. Think about the hands that made each one. Because whatever the full truth of Borobudur turns out to be, one thing is certain: it was built by people who understood something profound about the universe, about time, about the human need to reach upward toward something greater than ourselves. And they built it to last forever.